When I first read this comic, I liked it, but I wouldn't categorize it as a true Joker story, as I didn't feel that it reflected the character of the mainstream comics. In the mainstream, he's an anarchist, laughing at society's feeble attempts to hold itself together, rebelling against the hypocrisy we've created. In this story, he's more of a deranged mob boss, going on random drug binges that inspire his ruthlessness. While some of the other elements are arguable, I maintain that the drug use is a flaw, as it makes his insanity too artificial, rather than just being driven insane by the outside world, something I relate to. Yes, it's supposed to be ambiguous if the pills are what drive him crazy, or if they're actually curtailing his insanity, but either way, it lessens the impact because it implies he can be cured. Doesn't this interfere with the idea that he's insanity personified? Let's dissect the notion of his character and get some answers. The Joker in the mainstream is a clown, something that puts him on a level high above any politician. That's what we like about him. He's the most horrifying and disturbing person in the world, but he's just so damn funny. I think Jessica Rabbit put it best.
Seriously, what are you seeing that guy?
He makes me laugh.
He sees himself in contrast to Batman's ridiculous concept of law and order, though he refuses to kill Batman when he has the chance, because he's the only worthy adversary of him. Similarly, Batman refuses to kill the Joker because he knows that killing is wrong, and it wouldn't make him any better than the murderers he tries to do away with. This ironically spurs on the Joker's obsession, who knows he can mess with Batman to any extent. He doesn't even care if he lives or dies, as long as he has fun doing it. This does intersect with Azzarello's interpretation, as he views himself as humanity fully realized, living on the edge and refusing to back down from it. It contrasts, however, in the fact that in the graphic novel, the Joker seems to have a house of his own machinations and plans within plans, and carefully constructed power structures of which he remains at the top. In the mainstream, he was boss because no other gangs could fight him. He was unpredictable and had his own goals and agenda, spreading chaos that he could live in. The mob couldn't really gain too much of a foothold in Gotham because he simply wouldn't let them. They couldn't kill him because he was more ruthless than they were, a being of almost pure evil, so much that it couldn't be stopped, only contained by a being of vengeance. This is again where it intersects with the graphic novel. Grant Morrison postulated in his own graphic novel, Arkham Asylum, A Serious House on Serious Earth, that the Joker has a kind of extreme multiple personality disorder, to the point where he actually fabricates a new personality when he wakes up in the morning, depending on what mood he's in. This was a way of keeping the older stories where he was nothing but a gimmicky villain in continuity, and accepting the more modern serial killer interpretation, as well as justifying any writer's different take on the character. So, in this sense, the Joker is accurate to whatever you want him to be, but if he doesn't reflect a sense of what makes us like him in the first place, namely his demented sense of humor, then what's the point of writing about him? In the mainstream, a scenario like this would be more appropriate. The Joker wakes up one day after having watched a gangster movie the previous night and decides that's the life for him. Goes out, gets together a bunch of guys, forms a huge criminal empire, begins running all the rackets, and takes over the whole city. The next day he wakes up, decides he doesn't like that life anymore, goes out and kills everyone involved, completely dismantles everything he built yesterday. That's the Joker I know. Yes, he has his more serious moments, and gives interesting insights about humanity that are also a big part of why he's such a popular character, but that's the gist of the differences here. Azzarello's work is closer to that of Tim Burton's film version in Batman, played by one of my favorite actors, Jack Nicholson. This might be my favorite performance of his, and for good reason. He's out of his freaking mind! He is, again, more of a theatrical mob boss here, obsessed with fighting Batman, presumably so he won't interfere with his operations.
I have given a name to my pain,
Mysterious figure.
and it is Batman.
Appear and disappear.
He does have random bits of absurdity he propagates, mostly for his own amusement, even viewing himself as an artist of sorts. But he still retains enough of a goal in mind not to be the anarchist we know he should be. The other big thing is that he's actually given a full-fledged origin in this one, showing who he was beforehand and how he came to be the Joker. In the comics, the Joker isn't really given an absolute origin, just several vague ideas of how he could have ended up that way. In one of my personal favorite comics, Alan Moore's The Killing Joke, he constantly thinks back to the one bad day he had that drove him insane, but at the end confesses, "Sometimes I remember it one way, sometimes another. If I'm to have a past, I prefer it to be multiple choice." There was a controversial storyline that offered a more definite answer in Lovers and Madmen, where it's inarguable that it was him going through the origin and that witnesses, such as Batman, knew what was going on. While I enjoy that storyline despite many fans' qualms, I prefer the notion that we don't know precisely who he is. It's hard to imagine a real human being beneath the Joker's grin. Of course, Jack Nicholson's performance is always compared with Heath Ledger's in The Dark Knight, a role that killed the man and who won him an Oscar. Yes, I think Ledger did give a better performance and would go so far as to put The Dark Knight in my top 10 films. Not solely because of him, though. Joker came out in the wake of the mega hit, and at first glance one would assume that they were trying to imitate the look of the character in the film, with his slashed face and more realistic appearance. Azzarello has denied this, as it took several years for them to work on the book, having drawn out the image long beforehand. Also, in their earlier collaboration, Lex Luthor, Man of Steel, there's a brief newspaper image of the Joker looking like he does here. Ledger's Joker corresponded with the anarchist I've described from the comics, even flat out stating it.
Upset the established order, and everything becomes chaos. I'm an agent of chaos.
He doesn't have a definite origin, giving different accounts of how he came to be, and also displays the affection for Batman, as well as creating ethical conundrums that force the heroes to make gritty decisions, all of which was very prevalent in the comics. Some fans criticize the character for not having genuinely white skin, opting for clown makeup and a Glasgow smile. This is because the director, Christopher Nolan, had been trying to make the films more realistic, and there's no acid in the world that can stain your skin white and your hair green. Some say, then don't make it realistic. That's fine, but I feel these changes add to the character and gives us a new perspective on him. All of the other characters in Joker seem radically different too. Two-Face lives a relatively functional life despite his split personality. Killer Croc is a black dude with a skin condition, as opposed to being a humanoid crocodile. Harley Quinn ruthlessly kills people and doesn't speak a single word of dialogue, as opposed to being weird and quirky from the comics. Even Batman seems to have a cold temperament, letting the mobs kill each other while he has more important things to do. The only person who's in the same boat from the mainstream is the Penguin, short, fat, unable to really do anything, and still better than Danny DeVito's portrayal. None of their origins are gone into, and we can only speculate that there's some similarity with them, but then what are the variations? How'd the Joker end up with the scars on his face and the white skin? Does any of this really matter? Well, no. It matters in that he is who we want him to be. A mysterious, demented clown with a humorous eye for the macabre. He tells jokes in the story, or enacts them by doing horrendous things, and he really only uses all the money and power he has to go on chaotic sprees. One of the pinnacle scenes is where he kills the elderly couple, declaring, "Who cares?" for nothing more than the pure delight of it. It can be deduced from Johnny's ending narration that he really doesn't care if he gets captured, because he'll just escape again and raise even more hell. He exists only to amuse himself, and he has a hell of a time doing it. Through each and every interpretation, there is one thing unifying them all. That laugh, that mad, echoing laugh that creeps into your dreams and twists your mind around until you finally get the joke. He has it here, he had it there, and he'll always have it until the day of doom comes reckoning for him. But perhaps even doom won't silence the Joker.